Is this a sign that the creative team have listened to us? Granolah? The Jiren that we never had? Is this Granolah the Grey? Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now, if you're curious as to who I'm talking about here, then I would like to point you towards the Dragon Ball Super manga and chapter 67 onwards. It is a good jumping in point if you wish to get stuck into the manga quickly. And you can also check out my reviews of each chapter of the manga monthly by obviously subscribing to the channel. Yes, I know, it's a cheeky ask to subscribe to the channel, by the way. It would be very much appreciated, and do the bell thing too. Thank you. But let's talk about this chap, Granolah. As much as I would like to keep making breakfast jokes for days on end here, there is a very real reason that we need to talk about this person. He's pretty great thus far. How are we so sure of this? Well, even though Granolah has only been with us for a mere 3 chapters thus far at this point of the story, and by the time we're recording this, we are so much more jazzed than some of the more recently introduced characters. And no, by the way, we're not bagging on the likes of Moro or Miras here, but this Cerealian here, even by his basic appearance in the story, has already changed a lot more to Dragon Ball than anyone could anticipate. In a way, we are seeing Dragon Ball becoming more and more relevant, adapting to modern tastes much faster than we have been led to believe at this point prior. Yes, Haverock and I have a very strange but very strong sense that Dragon Ball is actually maturing, becoming a much deeper anime, and taking time to build worlds much more so than in previous iterations. Toriyama is growing up, listening to what fans want, going even further than even the first Dragon Ball series. This is GT done right. So today, I wish to explain why I think Granolah is what Jiren could have been, how we are witnessing a backstory being told through more sophisticated and subtle means rather than getting a half-baked short flashback at the last minute of the series, all for the sake of the beefcake grey dude. This is Jiren 2.0 here that we're seeing. It is very safe to say that Granolah the Survivor here hasn't really brought anything new to pop culture. He's not exactly the most innovative character ever to have existed. That would be wrong of us to say that. Also, the way that this overall story has been presented so far seems to be a pretty classic spaghetti western / space opera story that is circulated around the notion of revenge. Does that sound similar to Mandalorian perhaps? And of course, once again, it all involves around Frieza, because the boss over at the Dragon Room just can't quit Frieza. But hey, I mean, the Tournament of Power and Broly Friezas were actually pretty entertaining, so it's not all that bad. Frieza is now the Joker to Goku's Batman, so it seems. Now, you may be thinking that this is a bad thing, but for Dragon Ball, going down a spaghetti western Mandalorian route is highly unusual and going against the grain. Even though we know that Toriyama likes Star Wars, but it's not as clear-cut as you would normally expect us to be for Dragon Ball stories, so do hear us out. Have you noticed how, in the beginnings of this arc, how grey everything is? And no, I'm not talking about the lack of colours in a black and white manga, har har. I mean the greyness of the characters. Everything, including their alignments, are up in the air. Usually in the Dragon Ball universe, especially the beginning of new arcs, you have 3 types of characters. You have the good ones, you have the bad ones, and then you have the redeemable bad ones. Sometimes you get a 4th, the neutrals like Whis or Beerus, but mostly the first 3. Beerus and Whis were pretty novel when they were first debuted, hence why people warmed up to them pretty quickly. And they're pretty much part of the fandom now. What we're getting at here is that you know where their muffins crumble immediately when you first meet them. So, when the characters are the bad, they are usually the moustache-twirling, maniacal laughing type of bad. Or in the case of Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, they have also the additional 90s movie trope of the British accent to boot. That shows you that they're really bad. And no, I'm not gonna let that one go, as I'm holding up the British card. And I have to say it is positively spiffing. So in this new arc of Super, we're actually not sure who is the bad guy here, which is odd. At first you think it's these pirate goons here, the Heaters, but here even the Heaters aren't completely 100% evil. We gotta keep looking. They're not like Frost either, apparently. You know, being deceptive, putting on a good front, but being tricksters. Yes, they're not good people. They did benefit financially from selling the remains of Planet Cereal to the Shigarians here, but on the other hand, they went the extra mile to fix up the planet also and help these people resettle and get acquainted into their new homes. So they do have some genuine desire to help people, but of course not for free. But they still help, and they do it well. Our point is that they are more down-to-earth types of scumbags, rather than comic book-like characters. They're onions here. Need I say more? This ambiguity is applicable with Granolah himself. The way he is presented, the way we follow him, seems to be rather like an arc of a falling hero, rather than a proper villain. But we are still uncertain as to where his chips will fall exactly. This level of mystery is very unlike Dragon Ball. And this is why Haverock and I are both so happy to see this divergence from the normal narrative steps. It's just so new. We've looked throughout all of Dragon Ball's history, and this type of character simply doesn't show up at all. And before you say anything, we don't count mind-controlled characters or people like Majin Vegeta, to whom the Barbary situation was a way to purify himself from all of that residue evil still living within him. Granolah, on the other hand, well, he does have some good bones in his body and is a genuinely considerate person at this point in time. He can be. As we watch him go about his regular business, he does meet people and talk to people that he cares about and gets on well fine with. We know that he has morals and he doesn't take lives if he doesn't need to. He has a huge amount of personal shame as well and modesty, right now, but this could easily fall away given the direction of the story here. He's clearly obsessed with revenge on Frieza, and now he can actually act this out after all this time, he's even more obsessed by it. But can we really blame him? You know, seeing the charred remains of his home on a daily basis, can we really blame him? No. We did a video a few weeks back when Granolah was brand new, where we theorised his potential origins before we learnt more, and one of those theories was that he might have just been a Tuffle. And even though it would have been fairly neat to see, we would have to admit also that this would have been a little bit disappointing. Really? Another Tuffle? Tuffles again? Surely Saiyans would have been to other worlds where the populace would have vowed revenge against their actions, right? Well, now we have our answer, on planet Cereal. And after so many Tuffle revenge plots we've had in Dragon Ball, having that trope but now with a different species and background means that this idea can remain fresh. Why? It's to do with the character. Because the likes of Dr. Raichi or Baby started off quite curious, but they did soon follow the traditional Dragon Ball path for bad guys to quickly turning into mustachioed, twirling baddies. You clearly knew they were up to no good. And unlike Zamasu, Granolah feels like a deeper character, but at the same time is not overly complicated. You get him, you understand Granolah, we really do. Zamasu was Super's previous effect to go this deep and philosophical and make you feel bad for him, but it was limited by its medium and execution. Perhaps I should talk to Philosophy Tube about this perhaps in the future. The philosophy of Zamasu. Anyway, back to Granolah. You can sympathise with him, connect with the character, but at the same time, we can see enough flaws in him to see the roots of his upcoming downfall. It is going to come. There's no way he will turn back now. The Granolah we see by the arc's end will be nothing like the one we started out with, or right now. He'll be all covered in nuts and seeds and stuff. Of course, there's no guarantee that he'll stick the landing, figuratively speaking, but yeah, we can hope. He could plateau later on, and we do have to be aware of that possibility. It won't be all smiles and sunshine. This is always a sad thing to consider, but at the same time, there is a very real chance that, at the moment, Granolah might have one of the strongest introductions of any character in Dragon Ball history, ever. Even stronger perhaps than Goku's. Goku! It's almost as if the new arc has taken us to the places in Universe 7 that, whilst being located deep in space, seem more down to Earth than anything we've seen before on Earth. Also, one more thing about this arc, something to bring us back home to more familiar ground. Vegeta. Vegeta's sudden prominence in our findings comes about in Chapter 69 especially, where we are starting to spot a certain indirect juxtaposition between the Prince and Granolah. Both carry the legacy of their extinct peoples, both have suffered as a consequence of Frieza's actions, and both want revenge, or at least wanted revenge. The one major difference between the two? Well, when it comes to the actual flashpoint, the Cerealian conflict, one represented the victims and the other the invaders, even though Vegeta wasn't actually there. But Vegeta knows all too well that the Saiyans were responsible for their own downfall as well. he doesn't pull any punches here. Him talking about his father in chapter 69 is a testament of how far Vegeta has come as a character. He may be finally breaking out of his Buu Saga cycle of realization, and now forging a new one. Thank you! It's proof that these characters in Dragon Ball can develop and evolve. Vegeta's iconography is finally being tested and adapted. Something that the Dragon Ball showrunners, the iconic characters, are a bit afraid of doing with these people, not wanting to risk alienating the fans of said people. But here, with Vegeta, they're giving it a try and it seems to be working. Not only that, but his guilt was heavily addressed in the previous arc during his interactions with the Namekians. It was a nice little detail and piece of continuity, and now it's not being brushed under the carpet either. In this arc, it's being added to. But that's not all, as we now have Beerus doing his bit, being the literal devil on Vegeta's back. It's easy to forget, but Beerus has been through a lot with these Universe 7 characters, especially in the Tournament of Power arc, as there were moments when he was starting to lose his facade of being a sourpuss. And yes, Beerus is seemingly a more complicated character than he at first seemed to be. For some time, he was mostly just part of a Deus Ex Machina / comic relief combo with Whis, but here, in this new saga, he's reminding us that his primary function in the Dragon Ball world is to destroy things. He's not a goofball, he's doing his job. He is a force of nature. We must remember that. The thing he tells Vegeta are said not to, in order to mock him or be mean. This is all part of a test. He needs to see whether Vegeta truly wants or can even cope with the powers that he is about to receive. He cares enough about Vegeta to ensure that he will do well. Beerus reveals here that part of unlocking the Destroyer powers is disconnecting oneself from personal strifes, guilt, doubts. You need to let go. Before creation comes destruction. And once again, this is a test for Vegeta. But is it that simple? Is Beerus trying to simply teach Vegeta Hakai? Or does it go deeper than that? Because I think it should. Because Goku in the manga knows Hakai, to a point. Can Vegeta go the extra mile? On first glance, we might be disappointed that Beerus simply revealed to Vegeta that he was the one who told Frieza to destroy his home planet without some more fanfare or significance in the story and framing. It was just merely mentioned in passing, but it did provoke something. Deep down, something that Vegeta thought he had put behind him and gotten over. Turns out he hadn't really. In a way, a repetition of "My Bulma!" But Beerus knew that he would do that and just defeated him without any problems, just showing him that he hadn't learnt. It has become somewhat of a running gag, Vegeta doing this. While he is developing, he does still fall into the same pit holes, but that's okay. Not every road to new ways of thinking are smooth. Sometimes you relapse and fall down a pothole, but sometimes you just gotta pick yourself up and keep going. Maybe Beerus is trying to help him overcome his limitations, but in a different way. True to him, and let him focus better on the moment at hand instead of the past. If this is indeed the case, this is the next step of Yardratian training for Vegeta without him knowing it, to get to what he has become at the end of Z. Chilled Vegeta, or Chilljita. Beerus might be a force of nature and a bit of a scumbag, but we also have to see the facade drop, and maybe he wasn't so different from Vegeta long ago. Maybe he connects with him on some level. It's actually kind of a genius move in a way. Vegeta and Granolah both have the pain of losing their homeworlds reignited by an unknown force. In conclusion, Granolah is Jiren done right. We get a more complicated character with a story that we understand, and is connected with our heroes in a way much more masterfully orchestrated with us, seeing things go down rather than being hyped up by some third party with just a wall of text. With Jiren, we're told that he's strong, and we're told that he had a tragic backstory. Here with Granolah, we see it happen, and him developing, and sort of actually understand Vegeta's past as well. This is some really interesting story build-up here, even if it may feel a tiny bit convenient in places. But we certainly can bet that Vegeta confronting Granolah will be a thing, and it seems to be a very interesting way in how it's coming about, and being pitched to us, albeit a little bit subtly. On top of that, we don't know if Planet Cereal isn't yet another skeleton in Beerus' closet. So if Granolah truly becomes the strongest, who knows? Maybe he may set his sights not just on Frieza, but on Beerus as well. Perhaps this sees to it that the Granolah Survivor arc proves to be not only a story about revenge, but also with coping with your past and stuff that you'd rather put behind you, but yet somehow you just can't. And that makes it hit very differently to other sagas. It does feel like Dragon Ball due to all of the lore and clarifications that we're getting that we recognise quite vividly, but when it comes to the actual mood, well, it's never gotten as real as what we've seen right now. And we really hope that this feeling will continue throughout the entire arc, because honestly, for the first time in many years, it feels like Dragon Ball's writing has matured, and for now, that seems like a good thing. So what do you folks think? Do you feel that Granolah is what Jiren could have been? When do you think Vegeta and he will meet? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!